Thanks for joining us. 9 News at 3. I'm Alexandra Lewis. Sam has the day off. Let's get right into it because today our team spent the day responding to locations around the metro area as ICE agents and federal crews carried out immigration enforcement actions all day long. The first calls came in about 6 o'clock this morning. We saw federal agents at an apartment building near Oneida in Leetsdale. As we come on the air at 3 p.m., 9 hours later, we are still seeing law enforcement action at locations throughout the city. So here's the thing. While we are seeing a lot of ICE agents, and we have been all day long, a lot of tactical equipment, we're really only seeing a handful of arrests with our own eyes per targeted location. We responded to more than a half a dozen scenes today as ICE officials told us they were targeting more than 100 Venezuelan gang members. Jeremy Hohola is at the state capitol with an active crowd of people protesting the Trump administration there. We'll check in with him in just a moment. Jeremy, hold on. But first, we want to get to Evan Krugel in Thornton because Evan, you witnessed ICE activity there, just within the last hour. What are you seeing right now?
We did, Sam. This remains an extremely active scene after an immigration operation took place in this mobile home complex about an hour ago. You can see immigration officers behind me along with Thornton police, also a few dozen community protesters here as this investigation continues. We have seen 4 people detained here. This all happened about an hour ago. Those 4 people included a woman and a baby. Let's get to that video. Here are those people being detained. We are choosing to blur their faces because we do not know who they are, and we do not know why immigration officers are taking them into custody at this point. Now, here's how this all happened. It's been a busy day for immigration operations across Metro Denver, including large staging areas in multiple counties. Immigration officers have been moving from those staging points in small groups to various points to conduct these smaller operations across the area. And we followed one of those convoys here from a staging point all the way in Aurora. They went to a park in Federal Heights where they began assembling an armored vehicle with a ramming rod on the front. They then drove that over to this mobile home community. We're on Elbert and Castle Road in Thornton, where they parked the Bearcat facing one of these homes. Immigration officers then threw a canister or a flashbang at the home and then used a loudspeaker to announce they had a warrant and to tell people to come out with their hands up. A woman and a baby came out first. They were placed into an ICE vehicle. 2 men later followed them out of that home. They were placed into separate vehicles and ultimately taken away. Now, community members have been gathering here on the far side. They've been yelling at immigration officers and Thornton police. They've been specifically asking to see the warrant that was involved in this investigation. That armored vehicle has since left the scene. Again, we did see those 2 men placed in handcuffs and taken away from the scene as well. Now, again, Thornton police are here. We specifically asked them why they're involved in a federal immigration operation. They told us they are simply doing crowd control and making a protective barrier at this scene. They tell us that's what they're doing here today. You may also notice a news crew behind me in that immediate area outside the home. That is a national cable news channel that is doing a ride-along across the area with immigration officers today. So again, we know 4 people were detained. That's what we saw with our own eyes. 2 adult men and then a woman and a baby that were placed into a vehicle behind me that has since left the scene as well. So still a very active scene here. We are still trying to figure out exactly who these people were that were detained. And of course, the big question is why. For now, we're live in Thornton. Evan Krugel, 9 News.
Yeah, at 3 o'clock, Evan, still so many questions about the specific charges, the total numbers, and these actions are still going on. We'll check in with you in just a bit later in the hour. Let's talk about this large crowd gathering at the state capitol today for a previously planned protest of Trump administration policies. Similar marches took place nationwide, but given today's ICE action around the metro area, the rally here certainly had a different tone. We saw a lot of Mexican flags flying, protesters also promising to resist ICE policies. Jeremy Hohola joins us from the Capitol this afternoon with more. Jeremy, what are you seeing behind you there?
Yeah, that's right, Alex. While this protest and rally was planned to focus on Project 2025 and Trump policies, it's clear the government's immigration enforcement this morning has become a huge theme here, if not now. the main theme of this rally. This rally today is part of a nationwide protest in 50 states aimed at President Trump's policies. This morning, we saw the crowd begin to grow, beginning with local high school students who walked out of class. Many of them walked from their campuses carrying Mexican flags and signs targeting immigration raids, ICE, and Trump. And there are people here protesting Project 2025 and Elon Musk. The crowds have been gathered in front of the steps of the Capitol building, chanting the words "Si se puede," which means "yes, you can," a motto adopted by the United Farm Workers back in the 1970s. Lincoln Street has also been blocked off by police here who seem to be visible, but mostly on the periphery of this rally. There's also been a lot of chanting against President Trump with words they cannot use on television. So far, the gathering has been peaceful, and according to the organizers here, this is supposed to last till about 8 o'clock tonight. So far it's been peaceful. Also, Broadway has also been blocked off in this area, so lots of people right now marching around the Capitol, walking on the streets, so we expect this to last here for several hours still. Live in downtown Denver, Jeremy Hohola, 9 News.
All right, Jeremy, thanks for being on that scene. We'll have more on these ongoing actions and, of course, the accompanying protests throughout the hour. But let's get to some national news. Guatemalan leaders said today they are willing to take people who are deported by the U.S. government. The deal was announced today during Secretary of State Marco Rubio's tour of Latin America. Guatemala would reroute people back to their home countries, and the U.S. would cover the costs. A second federal judge has now ordered a pause on President Trump's birthright citizenship executive order. Anyone born in the U.S. is automatically a U.S. citizen under the 14th Amendment, even if their parent is in the country illegally. The president's order would seek to end that. However, a different federal judge put the executive order on hold just days after it came down. Several organizations in 22 states, including Colorado, are suing to stop the order as well. Today, congressional Republicans announced their intent to break up the federal Department of Education through legislation. This is in line with the Trump administration priority. Here's what Republicans had to say this afternoon.
Teachers' unions will viciously fight, of course, any idea of disbanding the federal Department of Education. But I think the principle is one that is, the time has come. We've all seen the ratings. I mean, the U.S. is falling far behind other countries because the system is not working.
The national conversation is creating confusion, certainly chaos for school districts at the local levels, too. We talked with an expert with CU Boulder who says any changes will have a far-reaching impact since the Department of Education runs programs like Title I and IDEA funding for low-income students and those with disabilities.
I think symbolically closing Department of Education says we are giving power back to the states. But as a practical matter, it doesn't change the fact that these are still federal programs that would be administered in the federal government.
Data from the State Department of Education shows they'll get about $870 million in federal funding this school year. Some of those programs are congressionally authorized and funded, so even if the department is eliminated, that money still has to be paid out to the schools by the federal government. Not guilty. That's the verdict from jurors for a man who admitted he shot another driver at a Tesla charging station. Deliberations started late yesterday. Jeremy Smith had been charged with second-degree murder initially and manslaughter. Prosecutors say it started as road rage between him and the victim, Adam Fresquez. This is back in May of 2023. They both pulled over at the charging station at Edgewater Public Market, and at some point, Smith shot Fresquez. He claimed the shooting was in self-defense. A CSU student is back in Fort Collins after losing her childhood home to the Los Angeles fires over winter break. It's an experience not new for her family. This is one of 4 homes they've lost in the wildfires just in the last 10 years. 9 News' Northern Newsroom reporter Amanda shares what this has taught this student.
Tackling that second semester of veterinary school sounds stressful.
It's definitely been an adjustment.
But right now, Taylor McLeod's welcoming the stress.
Kind of a nice distraction.
It's distraction from what her family went through during her winter break.
I was actually at a doctor's appointment in the valley.
Taylor and her dad had to evacuate last minute before the Palisades fire burned her childhood home.
This is Hannah and Alex. They're my 2 Anatolians. I had to actually evacuate them.
They grabbed their 7 pets.
Yeah, he's part of my family.
Including her cat Sesame.
He's such a sweet guy. Got out of there and that was that.
this is what's left of her dad's home. Images like this are sadly not new for Taylor.
No.
Or for her family.
It's an all too familiar experience.
Her aunt and uncle also lost their home in the Palisades fire.
And her whole street is gone.
A picture hanging up in Taylor's room reminds her of when the Southern California Woolsey fire burned down the house she was renting in 2018. That same week, years ago, the Paradise fire destroyed her grandparents' home and town.
Here's what's left of my barn.
So 4 homes, 1 family. You realize that when push comes to shove, like, you can do hard things.
At first, she didn't know how she was going to come back to Colorado.
And like start up school again. It has just put things into perspective for me.
But if anything, this has fueled her motivation to complete her degree.
How important it is to continue to come together and help people in times of, crises.
Taylor says she wants to get her degree so when a family's pet is hurt or sick in the future, she can help them. In Fort Collins, Amanda Gilbert, 9 News.